Hi, friends, and welcome to a special, different episode of your Bish Therapist podcast. Um, Surprise, I'm bringing you another episode this week. And the reason for that is I have decided to start doing like 15-minute short episodes there's just always so much to talk about. And sometimes I can't fit it in an hour, but doing a whole nother show for an hour would be, a lot of work. And it just didn't seem like a good plan. So this is what I'm experimenting with, bringing you YBT shorts. I don't know if that's what we should call it. If you all have any other clever names for it, the episodes, that would be great. But I'm going to bring you a myriad of things, through these shorts. So, for example, today, I'm going to talk a little bit about seasonal affective disorder, something that many people struggle with in different parts of the world. And it's just it's not often talked about with people. So that's kind of my jam, is just talking about stuff that other people don't talk about. I'm healing out loud because I almost died in silence. So this is part of that. And not every episode is going to be about that. For example, I'm going to do another short episode about Emily Simpson reposted me. What? So that's two now, Emily and Kyle. And I just feel really excited about it and wanted to share with you specifically what she reposted, what she said to me, et cetera, et cetera. And then I'm around Halloween, I'm going to do a short about me living in a haunted house. A listener DM'd me the other day and, listened to the podcast that I talked about that briefly. And they said, hey, you should, do an episode on that. And for Halloween, I was like, that's so genius. Yes, perfect. So every short will be, I don't know, a different topic, a different fun thing. It's going to be a challenge for me to keep it to 15 minutes. So that's also why I'm doing this, because I think it'll be a good testing of something that's not my strength, which is brevity is not my strength. I'm verbose, I'm flowery, I talk a lot, I talk in funny ways sometimes. And so this is also kind of like a growth exercise for me, I suppose, whatever you want to call it. So here's the thing. I think it's going to work great for you. I think it's going to work great for me. And, we'll see. So, and also, I don't know how many shorts I'm going to bring you per week, maybe two, maybe one. I have no idea. So, you know, welcome to my brain and the creative process. And, who knows? We'll see where this leads. So today, let me talk about seasonal affective disorder. Seasonal affective disorder it's the acronym for it is SAD. I truly don't know if that was done on purpose. Because again, one of the things with these shorts is this is going to be me talking more off the cuff. This is not going to be, normally if I was doing a podcast on this, I'd have the statistics and the studies and blah, blah, blah. So I don't have that. This is just me talking about something that I've treated and also I struggle with. And I have some tips and tricks for people. I just feel like, everyone needs to hear this because it's something that, so here's how this came up. Today I was in therapy with my own Bish therapist who I adore very much and wouldn't know what to do without her. And I told her, you better buckle up because until one of us dies, this is forever. But anyway, so I've noticed a little bit of a dip in my depression, which I will say. So my diagnoses are major depressive disorder, which varies in terms of severity depending on weather and my health and, life circumstances and just the world being on fire, that sort of stuff. People trying to take away women's rights, all that sort of good stuff. So I noticed in the last week or so that I've just had a dip in terms of my depression. And, I've felt more fatigued than usual. I've had more pain. I just haven't felt good. And here in Northeast PA, so again, I know I have listeners from all over the world. But in Northeast Pennsylvania, which is on the East Coast of the United States, it is rainy, snowy here more often than it is nice. So we'll get a couple good months of summer and then it's just gray. It's awful. And so my mood has definitely shifted. My body has shifted. And I was talking today about this in therapy, and I was joking about how I love to gaslight myself. And again, this is why I share all this is I love to gaslight myself and be like, bitch, get your life right. You're making excuses. This is nonsense. And then I go into therapy and it's like, why am I gaslighting myself? This is not nonsense. My life is right. I'm not a bitch. I'm great. So let's just talk to ourselves nicely. And so my therapist and I had a giggle about that. But also, we just talked about how, she talked about how she struggles with that too. And for me, what I like about a therapist personally is, appropriate amounts of self disclosure, just in terms of like be a human, therapists are humans too. And so I think when they show their humanity, that's more validating than any intervention. And so my therapist does a lot of that with me, which I appreciate. And it's just like, but here's my point. Through being open and honest with her and going through the process of like me gaslighting myself, and then we actually did have this great conversation about seasonal affective disorder. She had read a couple studies recently, research studies and some other things, and she actually had some suggestions. And so I thought, well, gee, that's great. Let me bring those suggestions to you. Some of them I knew, some of them I didn't. So the first thing with seasonal affective disorder is that for some people who it's just like lack of light, like our brains really struggle with the lack of light. And certain places, like for example, Alaska, where they'll have, weeks where it's dark, or, in Iceland, or, up towards the North Pole. So the lack of light just does something to our brains. And so the first thing I'm going to recommend is look up seasonal affective disorder lamp. For example, on Amazon, which I'm going to be honest, I don't love. I would rather support a small business, but I just don't have any around me that sell things like this. But the point is, look up seasonal affective disorder lamps, and it's not a lamp. It's more like for women who are listening and the gays. Hi, I don't know how many straight men, by the way, I've listening to this show. If you're a straight man and you listen, please reach out because you're underrepresented and I want to hear from you. But to all, my gays, my ladies who know exactly what I'm talking about, it's kind of like a makeup mirror light. And so I use it in the mornings. You're supposed to use it for an hour in the morning, like just when you're starting your day. So if you're doing your morning routine in the bathroom, having your coffee, whatever, you just literally sit it there and soak in the light. The one thing with a light like that for seasonal affective disorder, it has to be over 1,000 lux, which is how they measure that, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but so it has to be over 1,000 lux, though. I do know that for sure. So that number one is something that's helpful. But if you're like me and constantly forget, so like I have it and I just don't use it as much as I should. So this is a reminder for myself as well. Oh, and by the way, another fun fact that I'm going to talk to you guys about is if you struggle to talk to yourself nicely, like I do, and again, a lot of that's just internalized, right, from growing up. But if you're someone who you were never talked to nicely or you don't talk to yourself nicely, I'm going to give you one tip, a hot tip that I've learned. Instead of calling myself something wildly inappropriate, I will call myself a silly goose. And here's why that's effective. Number one, it's adorable. And number two, it's hilarious. So when I call myself that, I just chuckle and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I am so cute. So if you struggle with being mean to yourself and calling yourself bad things, I suggest starting with silly goose. It's really helpful for me. So I hope that helps you too. Okay. Number two recommendation for seasonal affective disorder is it's kind of like squirrels storing nuts for the winter, except it's like taking something that you find pleasurable that you don't necessarily have access to in the winter. So, okay, let me give you an example of this. So, it's essentially taking like if you like gardening, but there's also this Secret Lives of Mormon Wives that you've been wanting to binge, okay? Which, by the way, I hope you guys my new episode is coming out next week and it's going to be great. So let's say you have been wanting to binge Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, but you also are an avid gardener. I am not, because none of my joints are made for that in any way, shape, or form. But I understand why people enjoy that. So now that it's going to start getting, fall, winter, dark, things like that. So you save binging the show until an apropos moment when you're having a hard time in the winter. Now, that is a silly example because, if you want to be in the know and you want to know what's going on right now, that doesn't work. But you get the point that I'm making here, which is just like if you really want to if you're looking forward to doing something like a craft, learning how to knit, crochet, music, whatever it is that you're into, look forward to that and save it to deploy during the winter months that are tougher. And so it kind of gives you something to look forward to. And it also, it's a good like planning mechanism to help you feel kind of like you have control when you don't. But to make you feel like, okay, I mean, I'm joking because this actually can give you control, is to say, okay, so if I know I have a hard time in the winter months, wherever I live, whatever those months are, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z during those months. And honestly, when we talked about it today, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, for me, it won't be TV because my job is TV. That's my job. But for me, it might be something else, that's my homework, finding out what my nuts are that I'm going to store for the winter. So there we go. And then the last thing that I'm going to leave you with is, so I am an avid decorator. And for those of you who follow me on Instagram, at Your Bish Therapist on Instagram, I'm also on Facebook and TikTok, but mostly I post stuff on Instagram. And I love decor. Like in another life, I was an interior designer, or I did something when it came to home decor because I just love it. To me, my space needs to be aesthetically pleasing for me. That's a must. Absolutely has to. No ifs, ands, or buts. And, I'm fortunate financially because, right, that's a privilege to be able to just like buy extra stuff I don't need to decorate. And so my last suggestion is for people who really like decor and that makes them happy around their house, is after the holidays are over, whether you celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever it is that you celebrate, and you decorate for it, and then like you take it down in January, or whenever you're taking it down, leave stuff up. So who cares? Like I have 4 trees that I put in my home, which I know sounds a little wild. Only two of them are full size, and actually I have about 7. Listen, they're not all huge is what I'm trying to say. I'm already feeling judged by the audience. But anyway, so I'll take most of them down, but one I will leave up and put winter decorations. So lights, extra lights to me always help during the winter. So snowflake lights. You can also decorate trees with ribbon and all sorts of different things. I even have Jewish friends who don't celebrate Christmas, but they like a tree and they'll put it up. And here's my message. Whatever it is that makes you happy during the winter, if it's not hurting yourself or anybody else, just do it. And if people come over and are like, you still have up, Christmas decorations, who cares? And it's February, who cares? So the point is, do you save up things to do for the winter, reading a good book, starting a journal, whatever it is, do that. And the lamp, either getting the lamp, again, they're not expensive, or just, having more lights on in the house. This time of year, my husband he's always on me because the house, I just have every light on. And so I know that's not super eco-friendly, but for me, we do LED lights if you feel badly about that, because they're more more environmentally friendly. But at the end of the day, my mental health is important. And so that's what we do. So that's going to be my short for the day. Look at that, 15, almost 16 minutes. So yay. Thank you all for listening to this YBT short. Please let me know if you have any other cute, clever names for them. And I look forward to sharing more shorts with you in the future. And just regarding seasonal affective disorder, please remember you're not alone. We're all in this together. There are things you can do, and just take care of yourselves and each other. Ta-ta for now.